Problem I've got now is the engine is not getting up to its operating temperature. I suspect that the actual water thermostat is stuck open, it's seized. It's the original thermostat in the engine from new, so it's 10 plus years old. If it is seized open, the cooling water is always circulating around the engine and not allowing the engine to get up to temperature. So I bought a new thermostat to change that. It's always worth calibrating the temperature sensor before, just to make sure you are reading the right temperature. It might be your temperature sensors failed. It may not have completely failed, but if it's giving the wrong reading, your actual thermostat might be working, but you're not reading the right temperature. So I'm going to calibrate the thermostat, the temperature sensor first. Now I'm going to use a thermometer. It's a very simple food thermometer with a temperature probe, a display that reads degrees centigrade or Fahrenheit. I'm going to be using degrees centigrade. The way I'm going to read what the temperature sensor is reading is I'm using the Volvo Easy Connect, which is a module, a Bluetooth module you plug into the diagnostics of the ECM, and on your smartphone you can get a number of parameters and any alarms that are coming on the boat as well. One of the parameters is the actual water temperature. So I'm going to be reading digital on my smartphone. You could use your display on the boat, but if it's an analog display it won't be terribly accurate, but you'll get roughly where you want to be. So you're looking for 150 degrees Fahrenheit, 66 degrees centigrade as your normal running temperature. So it's easier with the digital display, so if you can find a way of getting the temperature sensor plugged into a digital display, that's great. If not, use the display on your boat. So you'll see me doing that. It's very easy. Use a cup of water. Because the operating temperature is around the 66 degrees, I'm going to go above that. I'm going to put near on boiling water in the cup, so I want to be reading above the 66, and then I want to read right down low, a low temperature as well, just to test the full range of the temperature sensor. So you'll see that in the video. Existing temperature sensor. In a cup of water, 82 degrees. Seem to have stabilised at 76. Actual temperature 79, 78. Now gone into cold water. Seem to have stayed at 22, 21. Seem to have stopped at 17. And we've got 16. So that's the existing temperature sensor. So you can see from that very quick way of calibrating the temperature sensor that the actual temperature sensor is fine, it's working fine. There's going to be a degree here and there, maybe a difference between the temperature sensor reading and what your thermostat is saying, like on my food thermostat, so that's fine. The important thing is, you'll see in the video, give the temperature sensor time to respond to taking it from hot water to cold water, and likely as well when it's sitting at ambient temperature and you put it initially in the hot water, that temperature sensor will take time to build up the heat to give you the reading. So just a little bit of patience. You see, I've left it at the real time just so you can see how long it generally takes for the temperature sensor to respond, and you'll see it settle down. When it's settled down and stopped, that's, you know, it's got to the temperature that it's seeing in that water. So let's go ahead and change the thermostat now. Okay, so here's where the work's going to be carried out. This down here is the fuel pump here. Up here is all the housing that contains the thermostat. So what we have to do is disconnect these hoses, take off these hoses here. Don't need to take the temperature sensor out, but unplug it. I'll remove this and then see what we have. Hoses disconnected. I've just marked one up with a bit of white tape. I don't think you're going to get the hoses wrong because of the shape of them, but I was just making sure that there's no confusion when I'm putting the hoses back. And now we'll undo the housing, which is this bolt here and the one down in there. I took off the flame arrestor just to give me a bit more space, really. So here's the thermostat housing, and you can see the thermostat's right deep inside there. Now this is the original, so this has been in the boat some 10 plus years. This is the O-ring. You can just see it running around. Let's try and there, just running around the edge. It's the O-ring sitting in a groove which houses and keeps in place the thermostat. So you can see I've already cleaned up the surface of the old gasket material here. So now I'm just going to work and get this O-ring out and hopefully then pop out the old thermostat. Okay, so what I found very useful is to use a very thin screwdriver and keep running round the edge where the O-ring sits, just clearing out the crud, because I don't want to damage the O-ring just in case I need to reuse it, but also I'm clearing out, starting to clear out the groove ready for the new O-ring. And then you can almost see that you'll find that in one place it starts to come free like that. So then we can just peel away that O-ring carefully. Right, okay, quiet now. Okay, so we got the O-ring out, managed to get it out intact without damaging it. You can just see inside there the groove where the O-ring sits to keep the thermostat in place, and you can see it's pretty cruddied up in there. So we're going to give this whole thing a good clean out the groove. Here's the old thermostat, you can see there. So put that to one side and we'll clean up all the housing. Okay, so I've cleaned out the thermostat housing. You can see, just about see the groove. Which is cleaned out as best as I can, but it's a lot better. And the other thing I did is I got the housing out, and it's probably never been off the boat from new, is I got the pressure hose, pressure washer, and I've cleaned out all the channels and made sure they're all nice and free. There's no loose bits, any rust or bits of crud or anything. Clean them all out. While you've got it out, you might as well give it a good clean. You don't want any dirt coming in and clogging up or interfering with your new thermostat valve, or in fact any rubbish going around your cooling system. So we're going to pop the new thermostat and O-ring in and be back on the boat. So here we are with the new thermostat in. This was the O-ring that came with thermostat, and I put it in, but when I compared it to the original O-ring that was in there, the original O-ring was slightly larger in diameter and a little bit fatter, and I felt that because I was able to reuse the old O-ring, because I didn't damage it when I took it out, I put the old O-ring back in and it seats the new thermostat much tighter and feel it's a better seal. So there you can see the O-ring there. So new thermostat's in there. There we are, ready to put back on the boat and try. Okay, so now we're going to put the thermostat back. First thing is just put the gasket in place and carefully put the thermostat housing back and connect all your hoses. Okay, so we've changed the thermostat, we've cleaned out the water housing, put everything back. I've pulled out one of the spark plugs, nice and clean, so I'm not running, since I put the new spark plugs in, there's no indication of running the mixture too rich. The spark plug looks healthy, so we're just going to turn her over now and put her on tick over and just hopefully see her come up to the right operating temperature. Okay. change the thermostat and the engine runs fine, gets up to operating temperature as quickly as it can. The thermostat opens, allows the cooling water to start circulating, taking the engine through the rev range. You can see that the engine temperature is pretty stable, just going slightly higher and slightly lower than its operating temperature, just as the thermostat's operating correctly, going in and out. So that's great.